Good afternoon. My name's Drew Mellor and I'm the leader of BCP Council. Really glad to be with you for another one of our sessions today. So this is one of our normal sessions. So it's a half an hour session where anybody can ask any question that they like. So please put those comments in, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Really glad to have you here. We've been doing a number of theme sessions recently, but so we're really keen to carry on doing those. So again, if anybody's got any ideas of different areas you'd like us to go into more detail on, by all means, please let us know. We usually start off with a COVID sort of update. Effectively, we're not. I think we're moving into a slightly different stage of the pandemic now. So I'm going to be less just repeating our numbers here, but all I want to sort of point back out to is the fact that vaccinations have been so successful in what we've done. What we're trying to do now is to move some of our messaging a bit more towards those particular groups of people who haven't completely got their 3 vaccinations yet. So and having messaging around that. So a particular message we're looking at the moment is around younger people who might want to go on holiday throughout the summer. There's still only a certain amount of time so you can actually get all 3 vaccinations in, and the more vaccinated you are, then the more places around the world you'll be able to travel to. As we're easing our restrictions, different countries are still undergoing their own process. So encourage as many people as possible to get vaccinated, and we'll be able to get back to normal lives. Okay, let me get to some of the questions that we've already got coming in. Fine. So okay, yes. So we've got a comment from Raymond Chilcott around broken streetlights. Raymond, I'll take that away, and we will look. I'll personally look into that if you've been trying to report it. What hopefully one of our colleagues will do here now is to put up our report it email address, so that we can anybody can report things and we can get them looked at. Yeah, thank you. bcpcouncil.gov.uk/report it. But Raymond, we will look at that specifically. Interesting enough, we just actually this morning I've just come from Cabinet, where we've passed our budget, which we now take to full council for final voting. Significant, over £3 million of investment, Raymond, in stuff called Cleaner, Greener, Safer. So it's about how we tidy up our areas, make them look cleaner, and also have more community safety officers, and an extra 10 people on the street as community safety officers. So a lot more money for stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, in fact, one of our colleagues has suggested that. So we've got a question from Steve Brun. Sorry, I was trying to read your name there. So perhaps we will have a look at that. It's how much is the council tax going up by, and what are you doing about the drug? I'm assuming that means dealing going on in Charminster in broad daylight mostly. Really important question, and let me spend a bit of time on both of them. Steve, I've just talked about the budget going through Cabinet today. What we're doing there is we're freezing the council tax effectively. So councils get the opportunity to increase council tax by 1.99%. And we're freezing that actually. So we had the second lowest council tax rise in the country last year, and we're now we're freezing council tax this year. So what that's meant effectively is we've saved £7 million of council tax last year and 4 million this year. So £11 million of council tax not collected in 2 years. What we are collecting is so councils have to collect the government's adult social care precept, and that is 4%. And then you get things like the police and crime commissioner precept, and depending on where you live in the conurbation, the town council and parish council precept. So it'll say quite clearly on your bills, council tax is being frozen, and adult social care precept 4%, police precept, as it is, etc. The second part of your question, I think this is really important. I just alluded to it again in that earlier answer, is around cleaner, greener, safer. So our pride in place objective. So we're working really closely with the Police and Crime Commissioner, David Sidwick, to make sure we've got a more joined up approach to antisocial behaviour. And part of my ward is in Charminster, so I know very well what you're talking about. And we've been involved with the police in Charminster as local councillors for a long time. what we're now doing is bringing forward one of the things that they want us to do is to invest further into our community safety officers. So these are people, they look often like police officers to an extent in terms of them being uniformed. They have powers delegated to them, and they're at our disposal to then go and actually work in areas that we think are really, really important. So absolutely, Steve, if this budget gets passed, there'll be 10 extra people across the conurbation to be doing exactly what you're talking about. Last year we brought 6 extra people forward, and we're going further this year. So we've more than doubled in 2 years the amount of community safety officers. So thank you ever so much for your question. We hopefully have answered it about council tax, and so it's a real priority for us in terms of antisocial behaviour, and I know it is for the Police and Crime Commissioner too. Okay, so we've got a question in from YouTube about recycling bins going up, 360 litre bins instead of a current 240 litre bins, a lot of overflowing bins. Okay, yeah, no, so something I do understand. One thing I will just point out is it is possible to acquire an extra bin in a lot of circumstances. So if you're regularly exceeding your bin capacity, then you are able to get an extra bin. So by all means, if anybody would like to contact us to know about that, my email address is drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. We've talked about a wider equalisation of all the bin sizes and services across BCP. For instance, we in our there's not food waste collected in Poole at the moment, where it is in other parts of the conurbation. This morning at Cabinet, we also published and approved our updated corporate strategy, which talks about having an ambition to level up across the conurbation around things like food waste and recycling, etc. And what I'll also do is I'll look into if there's any work planned around moving the 240 litre bins up to 360, but hopefully that is of some use if your bins are overflowing. Okay, right. Yeah, fine. So Michael Connolly has asked a question about litter picking effectively. Really poor at the moment, requires doing on a regular basis, gives it a poor impression when entering the towns. Yeah, I understand, Michael, what you're talking about. So last summer we did a pilot in Poole Town Centre, where we worked with the Poole BID, Business Improvement District, and we looked at ways of actually going in and walking with them to see what actually needed to be cleaned more. We've done some deep cleans. We've looked at some of the street furniture. Some of that we can repaint and get looking good again. Some of that we have to move. So we did a street furniture audit. That was really successful and been really well received. So what we're now doing is using the budget we've just talked about, the extra £3 million into Cleaner, Green and Safer, to roll that out across initially just the other town centres and then the other districts as well. So it's absolutely something we're committed to doing, where there is material more money going into it than has ever gone into it before, and we think we can really make a difference. The phrase I've often used is about it needs to feel different. It needs to feel like it's cleaner, greener and safer. What we've tried to do is be really ambitious and creative about use of our, how we can find money to invest. And we're doing that, and we're putting new money in to do this, Michael. So hopefully that you should start seeing an improvement there. Okay, so Laura Phelps, question about how much are carers set to see in their wage increase with the high rise in adult social care on our council tax bill. Okay, so effectively, what I just talked a little bit about how adult social care and the council tax bill is, and I talked about the precept before. The government collect adult social care precept, which we then use to fund care effectively. So we were allowed last year to take a 3% rise in adult social care precept, and going forward it's 1% a year effectively. And that extra allowance we were allowed to take last year was designed because a lot of the adult social care teams were really struggling because of the pandemic effectively. So the government gave us more ability to collect council tax. We took the view as a council, and we're one of the outliers in the country to do it, but we thought it wasn't the right time to put that council tax rise onto our bill payers. Coming out of a pandemic, we thought it was really important to keep as much money into people's pockets as possible. So we didn't take it last year. We deferred it for a year, and that saved £7 million. This year we are taking we're only allowed to defer it for 1 year, so it's use it or lose it effectively. So we are taking it this year with those annual 1%. So you mentioned about a high increase in council tax bill. There's actually, over the 2 years, we had one of the lowest council tax increases in the country, and £11 million of council tax not collected. We have got price pressure in wage inflation across carers, and it's something we're really actively looking at. We know we need to be more competitive. So one of the things we're doing is looking at how we can train more carers, how we can bring people in and sell it as a fantastic career and a really rewarding career as it is. We also talk about in our budget how we are going to be moving forward pay across all the council workers as we harmonise across. And there's I believe it's 2 years' time, but effectively a £9 million annual impact of that. So where people will be going up above and beyond they've been currently have been. So there is extra pay going into frontline workers. There's extra money going into bringing more frontline workers in, and we're also bringing in a transformation piece of work which tries to work out how we can use some of the best and innovative ways of doing this to, one, keep council tax bills, continue to keep them down long term, but also two, provide fantastic service to people. So there is wage increase and wage rises going in, and I hope I've answered your question about council tax increase as well. Right. Okay. So Laura Phelps has asked a question around the Ashdown athletics track improvements, and Laura, that's not actually something I'm aware of. So what I'll do, I'll take that away, and with the portfolio holder for Active Health, Mohan Iyengar, and we will one of us will come back to you, Laura. So let me have a look at that. Okay, so then Jamie Dunn again, regular question about Upton Country Park, and fantastic. Just highlight here. So Jamie has campaigned for a long time around doesn't want there to be parking charges in Upton Country Park. We really appreciate that debate, and anybody is welcome to put a statement or ask a question at full council meetings. So if whatever your issue is, if there's something you feel passionate about, by all means come and talk to me. But if you want to go through formal channels, you've got the ability to ask questions at full council. In terms of Upton Country Park, so I know in Poole, when Upton Country Park was a part of the Poole Borough Council, there's over £400,000 a year. That was a cost, to the council. So what we wanted to do, and I absolutely thought and do still believe is the right thing to do, is to try and we need to make it more sustainable. So what we did was we introduced limited car parking charges in Upton. Been really successful. Still people have really used the park, and now effectively you don't have to pay to go into the park, but as a lot of other venues do, by paying, if you want to arrive there by car, you pay a small charge to go there. So we disagree, Jamie, don't we, on it? I think it's exactly the right thing to do. I think that's a great way of making people who use parks make them more sustainable, so that the wider council taxpayer doesn't have to subsidise them. Appreciate you don't agree with that, but really thank you for your question to council coming forward, and anybody else. I really would encourage anybody to ask questions to council if there's an issue you're really interested in. You'll get an answer on the night. Okay, fine. Let me find some other questions now. Will there be more bins placed in the so Tim Adeke, will there be more bins placed in the Moordown Winton area? So they would be putting extra waste bins in the area, but haven't put any in Moordown. The simple answer to that question is yes. What we're trying to do is and you'll see it on the seafront, actually, probably the best example, and some of the town centres. We've done a couple of things, actually. We've put a significant amount of more bins in seafront town centres, and it has made a difference. There's a lot less litter than there was two summers ago. So bluntly and obviously, we know that works. So we're now rolling out, if our budget gets approved, some of our council tax frees with investment into cleaner, greener, safer gets approved at full council, then we will be able to put more bins across the conurbation. And sometimes it's more bins, sometimes it's bigger bins. Particularly, we're looking at a scheme where we're looking at, I think they're called subterranean bins, which is buried, underground bins, because quite often they're quite unsightly. It's great we've got loads of bins, but with our cleaner, greener, safer program, if it gets approved, we're absolutely looking to put more bins in across the conurbation. One other thing we did, and it's a little bit controversial, we experimented on some of our messaging, around litter, and had an award-winning campaign which massively impacted the level of litter that was left, which was talking about being a bit more direct with people. I think, it's is this bin full? We'll just go and find another one. There's enough of them about. Little bit more direct way of speaking to people than councils would do historically. We wanted to try, because we want to find different ways of doing it. It's worked really well. I don't think we use all of that messaging all the time, but we are. Tim, thank you for your question. I will make sure that Councillor Anderson and Councillor Dunlop know you've asked it. But yes, effectively, if our budget gets passed at full council, which is a week on Tuesday, then there will be more bins in areas like Winton and Moordown. Okay. Okay, fine. So Graham Film has asked a question about Oakdale and the roadblocks in Oakdale. So we ran a hopefully really useful and interesting session in terms of our wider Transforming Travel programme. So thank you to everybody who engaged with that. And we try to talk a little bit more, sort of unpack why we're trying to do this, why government are keen on increasing walking and cycling, why we're keen to move it forward. But what the important message that I think we really needed to get across is how it's actually pro-car often rather than anti-car. If we're able to create more your travel, your choice, we've called it effectively. So if we're able to say anybody who wants to travel by foot or by bike, then that frees up road space for people who do need or want to use the car. So what we've done is we've inherited a number of ETROs, emergency travel orders, and then we've listened to the public mostly, and in terms of whether there's a reason to change them. And we have, for instance, we had a decision called in Oakdale around Tattenham Road, which we then listened to the public opinion and then reopened them. The majority, so in Oakdale, we have got, where we have overturned these decisions. For ones that are left, we still really want to hear from people about how they're working. We're committed to this travel program where we want to invest money into walking and cycling, but what we need to do is to get to a situation where people can really walk, cycle, and free up road space for those who want to need it. So Graham, thank you. If you haven't already put your comments in formally in terms of about anything that's affecting you, again, my email address is drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk, and I can direct those to the right place. But a little bit about, we have actually reopened some of the roads in Oakdale, and we've also there's a reason we're doing it, and we're committed to doing it as well. Walking and cycling agenda. Okay. Yeah, fine. And actually, so I hadn't seen this question, but this is a really important point. Daniel Rose answers underneath, which is sort of helpful in that discussion. We are hugely congested as an area. So all those people who need, so whether it's just the people who are disabled, whether it's older people, whether it's people who just want to use a car, which is absolutely their right, and we protect that right. In doing that, they're just hugely congested, and we are by far and away one of the most congested parts of the country. So what we're actually, doing is keeping a lot of those roads. There's £100 million worth of investment in walking and cycling infrastructure and bus infrastructure. So £80 million of that has come from the government. So that's money we've won from the government, and it's quoted again in the Levelling Up paper. So it's £100 million of investment in this area to help people get moving again. So Daniel, there's a huge amount going, sort of unprecedented, undeniably unprecedented amount going into that. We're trying a really hard job there because of the comment, I'll just get Graham's name, previously, it's a real tension about this. And, one of the things that we thought was lost potentially in the discussion of this topic by the previous administration, it just seemed too anti-car. And, it shouldn't be so binary. It shouldn't be it's pro, cycling, walking or pro car. It should be about, well, actually, how can we get your travel? If you want to travel by car, we need to free up enough road space for the network works properly. We're investing in it. Government put £80 million. We're putting £20 million in with Dorset Council. But we need to do that while still respecting, people like Graham's viewpoints that find those road closures really, really challenging. Okay, let me see if we've got some other questions. Yeah, so Wendy Davey, important question about graffiti. The first thing, Wendy, is this is complicated because if it's on private land, it's much harder for us to impact and deal with, because we have to go to we're not allowed to just go in most circumstances to just go and repair it effectively, because it's the responsibility of whoever owns the land. If it's in our if it's in public space or it's in our space, we're absolutely, and part of the extra £3 million we're putting in means we should be better able to react to it. We put the report it message up earlier on, so I'll ask colleagues. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. So if you see it, please report it immediately. Don't presume somebody else has reported it. Please tell us about it, and then if we can do something about it, we will. But we absolutely need to address it more and more quickly. So even if it is on private land, we can have more resource now to actually go back to those private landowners and work with them to try and come up with a solution there. Alex Lanted, yes. YouTube question: will the road sweepers be cleaning side roads more often? The main roads are done daily. Wimborne, but a lot of side roads haven't been swept in a couple of years. Yeah, I mean, bluntly again. So there's a couple of things I'd like to just talk about here, Alex. Yes, we are investing. This extra money, we've already put some money in, and this extra £3 million will give more money for more road sweepers and road sweeping crews, effectively, so that you should start noticing a higher standard of road cleaning generally. And we think it's really important. We've got such a beautiful natural environment. We've got one of the most amazing places. I think one of the most amazing places in the country, if not Europe. But so we've got a responsibility to make sure it's clean, make sure people are proud of it. That does extend to the litter we talked about earlier. It does extend to the side roads as well. So Alex, the absolute answer is yes, there is more money going to road sweeping. Where there's a particular part of this as well, and you're not talking about Christchurch, but for instance, we inherited some really different levels of road sweeping across the conurbation, and in particular in Christchurch, the road there was significantly less road sweeping going on. So what we've now done is we've levelled that up, so that's already there. So there's an extra crew in Christchurch, there's an extra road sweeping vehicle. That's money we put in pretty much immediately to level up. Christchurch, we're paying some of the highest council tax in the country, and now actually from they're saving in the region of £260 a year. So we've proven you can save £260 a year on council tax in Christchurch and have more services there. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure it doesn't cost as much, but we're delivering more, and we are trying to do that, Alex. So if there's a particular road, though, Alex, please let us know. Really keen to hear about it. We can talk you through about when it is being swept. Often we don't notice it, or because there's actually quite a lot of road sweeping going on. But if it's something that really you think's missed, or you think we haven't given enough priority to, we really want to know about it, Alex. So again, report it or email me, and we will pick that up for you. But thank you very much, Alex. Okay. Yeah, so we've got something about care, which I won't repeat there because I've already had a bit of a discussion on that. Okay. Okay, so Rowena Ross had asked a question about the park and ride. Perhaps go to Bournemouth rather than Boscombe. Most tourists want to see Bournemouth town. I feel this would help congestion in the summer. Okay, Rowena, thank you for that. So what I think it's worth saying is we think park and ride is a really useful part of a solution. I think we all saw how congested the roads were a couple of years ago in the summer, and we wanted to do something about it. So we put in with 2 park and rides effectively. So one in Kings Park in Bournemouth, and one just near the Civic Centre in Poole. And they were successful. They were used. We'd really like them to be used more this summer. So what we've done is we're keeping them. If our budget gets approved, again, there's around about just over £1.5 million in what we've called summer readiness. So that is money to make sure we're ready for the summer, and that includes committing to park and ride again. And you're right, it does effectively help congestion a lot. Your specific point around why doesn't it go to Bournemouth? I know, and look, I'll actually have a look into this. But my understanding was very much that we've got a huge hotspot in Bournemouth anyway in terms of people. So we're trying to make sure that when we've got the ability to direct people into different places, we can direct them to quieter parts of the beach. So I know that if, for instance, we just immediately put everybody, we picked up from the park and ride and put them into the real hotspot of the pier by Bournemouth, that wouldn't be conducive. But we can. I'll take it away and I'll ask them and see what sort of routes and options we've got. One thing's really important in the whole congestion specifically about the beach is our beach checker app. So as we're coming up to warmer weathers, hopefully not too far away, really encourage as many residents as possible to download that, so we can actually see where our beaches are, where our hotspots, both in car parks, beaches, effectively. We're going to try and do more and more with that app as we go. But Rowena, thank you for your question. Hopefully I've explained. One, we're going to keep the park and rides, and we're committed to doing that. There'll be park and rides again this summer. And 2, that's why it tends to focus on some quieter areas. But I will take away your point, Rowena, and just see if we can refresh the conversation about the routes there. Okay, yeah. So I've talked a lot about the budget. So and some things in there. We did do a budget session a couple of weeks ago. What would be really hopefully helpful is if I can ask one of our colleagues to share the link. Oh, so we've done it actually in the chat. But if we do that here as well, share the link to the budget. Be really welcome people to sort of dig into it. So it's bcpcouncil.gov.uk/council tax 2022. That you can look into more detail. And any questions about that, contact your local councillor, contact me, and we'd be really, really keen to have anybody's feedback. That budget goes to full council. It's been approved by Cabinet today. Goes to full council a week on Tuesday. So hopefully that should be really some positive news there. Okay, so Carl Jones asked a question about, could the Kings Park location for park and ride not be relocated towards the airport? Would ease traffic to the A338? Yeah, Carl, we did explore that, and it's under constant review. What we were looking to do last summer, particularly, was stand something up quite quickly, and we were ready and able to stand something up at Kings Park. And it's also, there's a judgment call about at what point you start sort of stopping, asking the traffic to come in, and we thought it worked quite successfully. We did some surveys, and bluntly, not enough people knew it was there. So what we're going to try and do there this year, rather than change it around again, what we want to do is to be better at publicising where it is. But Carl, that's why we've done it. That's why it's there. We're going to commit to it for now there, because I think it's more important that people get used to it being there, effectively. But Carl, thank you for your suggestion. We'll keep it under wraps. Okay, so I've got a question from Jenny. I think we're still on park and rides here, and this one's specifically about Creekmore. This council didn't build the park and ride at Creekmore. There's an argument to say that it was done and in a place that wasn't hugely required. So it's not something that's really worked hugely well consistently. So what we've done actually, and what, as you'll see, what's up there at the moment, Jenny, is we've leased it out to the NHS for a testing facility, and that is going forward up until next Christmas, effectively. That's a current plan. So NHS have asked us if they can retain that site for the next year. And we're obviously trying to help wherever we can. So we've suggested that that's fine. So Jenny, that's, it's not a specific answer to your question. But I guess twofold. One, there's not enough patronage, not enough people wanted to use it regularly. We're in discussions, going forward, and we're really keen to have discussions with large employers who might want to use that, and then ferry their people into Poole. We think if we can really use it properly as a park and ride, it can make a really material difference in Poole. But for the next, for this year, for the rest of this year, we're looking at that being it's still a testing facility. Okay, I think we've gone past our time now. So thank you very much for anybody who has commented. If I can, I'll just leave my email address up again. So it's drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. So if there's anything else you would like a specific answer to, please email me. And as I said at the beginning, I'm really keen to hear any other theme sessions. So any other things you're really keen to, like we talked about a budget, we talked about antisocial behaviour, we talked about the local plan. So anything else, let us know, and we'll run sessions on it. On the local plan, we're really pleased that we're announcing today some more detailed consultation. We've been really passionate about doing face-to-face consultation, and we're now able to put that a number of face-to-face consultations in around a local plan as well. So please look out for those. Just before I finish, what we're doing with the local plan is, rather than put something together and present it and say this is what we want to do, we're actually adding an extra section of consultation. We're saying, so look, here are all the sites, who has ideas. We're going to listen to that feedback, we're going to put it together, and then we're going to come out with what we think is a local plan. So please look out for those sessions as well. Okay, hopefully that was a useful half an hour. I always really appreciate it. It's great to have the comments and the feedback as well. So anything else you'd like us to do, let us know. But stay safe, stay well, and thank you very much for your time, everybody. Bye-bye.